For today's craft, we're going to be making a Korok from the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So your kit should have some felt pieces cut on the library's laser cutter. We've got 2 of the body, we've got 1 leaf and 1 black oval. It's going to go behind the leaf. You're going to have some embroidery thread and a needle, and then some polyfill. All right, to get started for this next part, you're going to take the green thread that was on your little card and your needle. You're going to thread the needle, pull a little bit through here so it doesn't fall off easily, and you're going to tie a knot at the end of the thread. Once you do that, you're going to need your leaf, you're going to need the black oval, and 1 side of these. So when it's all together, it's going to go like this. But we're going to attach the face first. So you want to position the oval on the back so that it's like that, lined up, and it doesn't stick out the edges. And then position the face on where you want it. So I'm in there. So as we sew, we're going to be doing a running stitch all around the edge of the leaf to give it a little decoration, but it's also going to attach it along the top and bottom. So the face will be attached on there. For a finished example, you can see how it goes here, and it's going to be attached. It's attached here and here. Pick a spot to start. I recommend starting somewhere where it's going to attach it and where it's not going to show once you have everything sewn up and attached. So I'm going to start right about here. Now, I do not hand sew or embroider, so please forgive me for how sloppy this is going to be, and I'm sure that you can do a much nicer job than I can, but you're just sewing up and down through here. And if you are a more experienced hand sewer than I am, and you do embroidery and all of that, then I'm sure you could get some extra thread and do some fancy stitching to put all the extra little detail on the Korok's face, but I'm not going to try that today. So it can get a little bit tedious, but you can do this while you're watching a show or something, and it's pretty easy. And try not to tangle it up like I do. Oh, now I've messed it up. So you can see here I went the wrong way. So now I'm going to have to pull that out, pull that, and rethread my needle. Alright, so when you get to your last stitch, you're going to just pull that through. You can see it's all attached and cute. And pull this to the back and boom. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of loop this through to make sure it's attached well back there. And then you're just going to tie a double knot here like that to keep it in place. So tie once, twice, make sure it's nice and secure, and then you can cut off some of that extra thread hanging back there. Alright, so first part of your little Korok is done. So now we're going to need the back of it, and we're going to be sewing them together here with a whip stitch, I think it's called, according to my very quick Google research here. And so for this one, we're just stitching around and around and around the edges. So when you stuff him, you're going to stuff him right here through the head. So I recommend starting stitching here and going around this way, getting back here, and then stop about here. Then you're gonna stuff it, because that'll hide where it starts and stops pretty well. So make sure you line them up well and try to keep them from wiggling and becoming even as you go. And then you're gonna get your embroidery floss. So this is, you have more of this brown color, tan color than you had of the other one. And you can cut it in half if you don't want to work with so much, because it does become a lot easier to get tangled if you have this much all at once. If you don't want it to get tangled, do maybe more like an arm's length at a time. But I'm kind of a sucker for punishment, so I'm going to leave it super long like this, and I'm probably going to regret that when I get it tangled in a little bit, but I don't like having to add more thread midway through and knot it and stuff. So I'm going to do this instead, and I'm sure that I'm going to regret my decision. All right, so to start off with, we're going to start right back here at this little ear. I'm going to call it an ear. And you're going to bring through just to the tan part, the body, not the leaf. So, and I've got this little bit hanging in the back, but I'll trim that off later a little bit and try to hide that extra thread. So what we're going to do is we went from the bottom to the top, and so with our thread we're going to wrap around, so we're going to do a whip stitch. We're going to go back from the bottom up through the top. And go around. Okay? So once again, we came out the top. I'm going to go around through the bottom and back up the top. And try not to tangle your thread. I told you I'd regret having thread this long. So you can see it's going around there. So from the bottom through the top. And try to make sure that you're holding the rest of the body in place. When you get to any of the little pointy part's kind of the trickiest part, because you got to decide where you're gonna turn them around. And so, but we're turning here, but we're still going from bottom up to the top. Bottom up to the top. I'm gonna try to bring this a little bit closer. And you can see how it could be really easy for the body to start getting crooked. So you want to, every couple stitches, just make sure you've got them lined up still. Okay, and then this part is where it gets a little bit tricky because you've got your leaf here, so you can't just go straight up. So you kind of have to turn it here, and you're still going from the bottom to the top, but you want to try to avoid coming all the way out through that leaf. So you might catch a little bit of the leaf coming out, but that's okay. As long as you're not coming all the way through the top, you're fine. gonna go ahead and stop here. And now we're gonna stuff this. Okay, so if you leave the needle on the thread, just be careful not to poke yourself. So you're gonna take your stuffing and push it down in here. And if you have a pencil, that can be helpful. I didn't bring it. I don't have a pencil, so I'm just gonna use my finger, but if you have a pencil, that can be very helpful. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of stuffing at a time and stuff it in. And while I'm stuffing this in, that little loose piece of thread that I had before, I'm gonna stuff that in too. And you can just stuff it as full as you want to. So if you wanted less poofy, put less stuffing in. All right, so I think this guy's pretty good. So now time to this needle again. Last time, hopefully. Okay, and so we're gonna finish doing a whip stitch just along this back seam here. This is probably the trickiest part because the leaf is right there on the edge, but after your last stitch, you'll tie a double knot to secure it, and then you're gonna be done. Times to do a double knot. Knot it nice and tight, and then trim off the edge. And take off any little extra bits of stuffing with fluff. Careful with your needle. Store that somewhere if you're going to use it again. If not, dispose of it safely. Alright, and your little Korok is done.